two-column addition. All right, here we go. Input. So we're learning how to solve equations with variables on both sides, okay? So the first thing I'm going to give you is the steps, okay? So these are going to be the steps. You will need these steps. Step 1. Step 1 is to simplify each side. Now, simplifying each side might mean, combining the like terms, putting it as simple as possible first. So you're simplifying each side. Step number 2 is you're going to put all of the variables on one side. Put all the variables on one side. And to do that, you will use addition or subtraction. So if you want to get 3n, positive 3n to the other side of the equal sign, you will subtract it on both sides. If you want to get a negative on the other side, you will add it to the other side. Step 3, isolate the variable. So again, you'll isolate the variable first by adding and subtracting, and then you will either multiply or divide. So that one extra step is to simplify both sides and put the variable on one.
It sounds like they're fighting.
They're so lovely. All right, we're at input. Does everybody have that? Put your pencil in the air if you have it, please. All right. So modeling, I'm going to show you how to do it. Modeling is the most important thing you can write down. Number 1, 7 minus 2n equals n minus 14. So you can see that we have a variable on both sides of our equation here. We have a variable on both sides of the equation. So looking back at our steps, we need to simplify each side, and step 2, put all the variables on one side. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract n from both sides. Because these two sides are as simplified as they can get. So now I'm going to subtract n, opposite, on both sides to get n on the other side. So you want to take all the variables and put them on one side. I usually like to move them to the left so that at the end of it, it's the variable equals whatever. So move my variable to the left. Okay? So then over here, my n's cancel out. And on this side, I'm left with 7. What's negative 2n minus n? Let's see. Invisible 1 is in front of it. So negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. So I have a minus 3n equals, and I'm left on this side with negative 14. So now I've taken my variable and I pushed it over to the left-hand side. Okay? I took that variable and I moved it to the left and solved for it. So now the next thing I need to do is, I need to get this variable by itself. Here's a positive 7. So I'm going to get 7 on the other side by subtracting it. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. So my 7's over here cancel out. So then I'm left with, on this side, negative 3n equals, negative 14 minus 7. Same signs at 21 and keep the sign, negative. Okay, last thing I need to do, get n by itself, divide by -3 on both sides. My 3's cancel on this side. And so I'm left with n equals -21 divided by -3. Negative divided by negative is a positive. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. Now, if I went back and checked my work, because that's what good mathematicians do, and I plugged it in, 7 minus 2, replace n with 7, equals 7 minus 14. They should equal each other by the time I'm done checking my work. So that'd be 7 minus 14 equals 7 minus 14. 7 minus 14 is what? -7. Sorry. And then they should equal each other. So check your work. Here we go, number 2. 3, the letter D, plus 8 equals 2, the letter D, minus 7. Okay? So again, I need to simplify both sides. They look simplified. That was step 1. Step 2, I need to decide how I'm going to move my variable all to one side. So I'm going to move 2 to the left side. So I'm going to subtract 2d from both sides. Notice how I line them up. Okay? Make sure you're writing this down. So positive 2d minus 2d cancel out on that side. 3 minus 2 is 1. You can put the 1d if you want to, but I know that 1 in front of the d is invisible. So d plus 8 equals, what I'm left with over here, -7. So I just move the variable to one side. So now I know that I need to subtract 8 from both sides to get d by itself. So I line them up. My 8's cancel out over here, and I'm left with d equals -7 minus 8. Same signs, add 15, keep the sign, negative. D equals -15. And if I were to plug that back in, I'd get the correct answer. I checked my work last night. I do my homework before I show you. Okay? I have no reason to get it wrong either. Number 3. Now this one is when you start getting into distributive. Okay? 2 times the quantity of 4 minus 2, the letter R, equals -2. We got to distribute the negative sign. R plus 5. Now I already know I'm going to have to distribute. I'm going to have to simplify each side by distributing the number that's outside of the parentheses. That's how I'm going to simplify, because that's step 1, simplify both sides. Okay? So, to simplify this, I have 2 times 4, which is 8, minus, put that minus sign, bring it down, 2 times 2r, which is 4r, equals, now I need to distribute on the other side. -2 times r is a -2r plus, bring down that sign, -2 times 5, -10. Now I'm going to rewrite that because I can see right here that that's going to be negative. So I'm going to rewrite it. 8 minus 4r equals -2r minus 10. So you have to make sure you distribute that negative sign correctly. Remember, negative and a positive, someone likes someone more than the other, they're not going to have a good relationship. So they're negative. Okay? Awesome. So now, going back to what we did before, I need to get all of my variables on one side. So again, I like to move my variables to the left so that at the end, the variables on the left-hand side. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 2r, that's negative. I'm going to add 2r to both sides. So my negative 2r, my positive 2r cancel each other out. So now on this side I have 8 and negative 4 plus 2. Negative 4 plus 2, negative 2. So it's going to be a negative 2, put the variable in r, equals, and I'm left with on this side with negative 10. Okay, now I need to get r by itself, so I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. That's a positive 8. So I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. My 8's cancel, and I'm left with negative 2r on the left-hand side, equals negative 10 minus 8. Same signs, add, and keep the sign. I'm almost done. Getting r by itself, divide by negative 2 on both sides. Now when I get rid of that negative 2, r is going to be by itself. So they cancel. And r equals, a negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive, so I know I don't have to put a negative sign down. And 18 divided by 2 is 9. When you're done with that, put your pencil in here so I can. Okay, now there are some examples where it's not going to work. And then you have to actually write down whether it's an identity property or there's no solution. So I'm going to show you 2 examples. Here's number 4. 3 times the quantity of n minus 1 equals 5n plus 3 minus 2n. So this is probably when you saw your pretest and you're like, I'm trying to get the variable by itself and it's not working. There is a word for that. So I know my first thing is to simplify both sides. Well, I have to simplify this side by distributing, and I have to simplify this side by combining like terms. So I'm going to go with the left side first. So I'm going to simplify this side by distributing. So I'm going to do that side first. So I have 3 times n, which is 3n. Bring down my minus sign. 3 times 1, which is 3, equals 5n plus 3 minus 2n. So I distributed. I simplified the left side. Now I'm going to simplify the right side because I see, oh look, like terms. Like terms. So this side's going to stay the same, 3n minus 3. But now I have like terms. 5n minus 2n. 5 minus 2 is 3n. And then I have my plus 3. Now I need to get my variables on one side. So here I go. 3n. Got to get rid of you. Wait a minute. This is a little confusing because positive 3n and negative 3n cancel out, and positive 3n and negative 3n cancel out. So then I'm left with negative 3 equals a positive 3? That doesn't make any sense. Negative 3 does not equal positive 3. So when this happens, my answer is no solution. My answer is no solution. So I'm going to make a note for myself on the side of my paper, a little star, asterisk, when you are left with solutions that are not equal. When you are left with solutions that are not equal to each other, so -3 is not equal to +3, your answer is going to be no solution. No solution. When you are left with something that is not equal to each other. So your variable disappeared, and the two numbers you have left aren't the same. That'll be no solution. Now there is an example that I'm going to give you now when you're left with two variables that are, or two numbers that are equal to each other. Okay? So number 5. 2s minus 12 plus 2s equals 4s minus 12. So 2s minus 12 plus 2s equals 4s minus 12. So hold up. My first step tells me I have to simplify both sides first. Let's see, can I simplify this side? Oh, I see like terms. I see like terms. So 2s plus 2s is 4s minus 12 equals 4s minus 12. That's interesting. Well, let me go through my steps. I'm going to subtract 4s on both sides to get s on the other side of the equal sign. Wait a minute, my 4s and my negative 4s cancel out, and my 4s and my negative 4s cancel out. So on this side of the equal sign, I'm left with negative 12, and on this side of the equal sign, I'm left with negative 12. When that happens, your answer is, it's the identity property. So you're going to write identity. Basically, they're identical. Identity. So I'm going to write myself a little note in my notes so I know when I get home. This is when the solutions are equal. Write yourself a note. When the solutions are equal, that's what your answer is going to be. When the solutions are equal, your answer is identity. One more example, and it's your favorite. Word problem. Woohoo! I love word problems. So linguistic. All right. Here we go. Let's say this person's name is Hans. Hans needs to rent a truck. Hans needs to rent a truck. Company A, so the first company, Company A, we'll call it, has a rate of $40 per day. So Hans is trying to rent a truck. He looks to the first company, and they say they charge you about $40 a day to rent a truck. But Company B charges $600 plus $20 per day. Let's think about it. $600 plus $20 a day. The question is, for what number of days is the cost the same? what number of days is the cost going to be the same? So Hans is trying to rent a truck. He goes to the first company, they say, it's going to be $40 a day. He goes to the second company and they say, it's a flat rate of $600 plus $20 a day. Now we need to figure out how to write this really quickly. So the first thing you always need to look at is the numbers in your problem, okay? So I'm going to take a different color right now, and I'm going to need the number 40. I'm going to need the number 600. And I'm going to need the number 20. Now, there are two companies. So I'm going to write the first company on one side of my equal sign. So I'm going to draw an equal sign down here. And I'm going to write the second company's rate on the other side of the equal sign. So the first company says it's $40, and this is your key word, per day. I mean, for the variable. So $40 per day. I'm going to use X. When you see per, it tells you that's where the variable needs to be. On the other side of my equal sign, so company B says it's a flat rate of 600 and then 20 per day. So I'm going to say, okay, 20 per day plus they ask you for a $600 flat rate. So over here is company A. And over here is company B. Now we can solve it just like we've been doing. I look at both sides, so they need to be simplified. No. So then I look at both sides. Do I need to move the variable all to one side? Yes, I do. So I'm going to subtract 20x from both sides. And we're trying to move the variable to the left-hand side. My 20s cancel. Positive and a negative. And on this side, I have 40x minus 20x. 40 minus 20 is 20. Write the variable x equals, on the other side I'm left with 600. Now I divide 20 on both sides to get x by itself. When you get x by itself, my 20s cancel. So I have x equals 600 divided by 20 is 30, because 20 times 30 is 600. And it asks me what number of days, so I know it's 30 days. It asks me for days. So for 30 days, it's going to be the same rate. After that, company B is going to cost more. You can go ahead and stop it, Alex. Thank you.